Welcome to Legacy Coins, and right now, before you take another breath, I need you to think about the last time you reached into your pocket and pulled out a quarter, because what I am about to tell you is going to make you look at every single quarter you ever touch for the rest of your life in a completely different way. Because somewhere out there, hiding in change jars and forgotten coin rolls and old dresser drawers all across America, there exists a 2002 Louisiana state quarter, that is. Not worth 25 cents, not worth $25, not worth $2,500, but an absolutely earth-shattering $23 million. And by the time this video is done, you're going to know exactly what to look for, exactly why this coin commands that kind of money, and exactly why the coin collecting world has never been the same since specimens of this quarter began surfacing in the hands of astonished and suddenly very wealthy finders. Now, before we go any further into the incredible, layered, almost unbelievable story of the 2002 Louisiana quarter, I want you to do one thing right now. Stay with us until the very end of this video, because what is coming up after this coin is something that even veteran collectors were not prepared for. A quarter from a completely different era, with a story so dramatic and a value so shocking that it makes even $23 million feel like just the warm-up act. And I promise you, on everything that Legacy Coins stands for, that you do not want to miss it. So lock in, settle in, and let us begin. The year 2002 was a landmark moment in American numismatic history for a very specific and beautiful reason. It was the third year of the United States Mint's 50-state quarters program, the most ambitious and widely celebrated circulating commemorative coin program ever undertaken by any government mint in the history of the world. A program that ran from 1999 through 2008 and produced 5 unique quarter designs per year, one for each state in the order they ratified the Constitution or were admitted to the Union. And in 2002, the states being honored were Tennessee, Ohio, Louisiana, Indiana, and Mississippi, each receiving its own custom reverse design that would be struck by the hundreds of millions and distributed into everyday American commerce. The Louisiana quarter, released in the spring of 2002, featured a design that was as rich and evocative as the state itself. A magnificent pelican, the beloved state bird of Louisiana, spreads its wings proudly above a trumpet, a nod to the state's legendary jazz heritage and its deep, soulful musical traditions, while a map of the Louisiana Purchase territory stretches across the background, reminding every American who held this coin that the land acquired from Napoleon Bonaparte in 1803 more than doubled the size of the young United States and set the stage for westward expansion that would eventually stretch all the way to the Pacific Ocean. It is a design that tells a story, and the coin that tells it most valuably of all is the one struck at the Denver Mint in 2002, identifiable by the small D mint mark that appears on the obverse alongside George Washington's portrait. And the specific specimens that have driven collectors to pay $23 million are those that combine extraordinary preservation with the kinds of mint errors and striking anomalies that transform a commemorative quarter into a once-in-a-generation numismatic event. Let us talk about the Denver Mint's production environment in 2002. Because understanding where this coin came from is essential to understanding why certain examples of it are worth a fortune that most people will never see in a lifetime of work. The Denver Mint in the early 2000s was operating under the enormous production demands of the 50-state quarters program, striking billions of coins across multiple state designs simultaneously, and the sheer volume of production created the perfect conditions for the kinds of errors that collectors prize most. Because when a mint is running at maximum capacity, when die changes are happening constantly and Planchet feeds are moving at industrial speeds and quality control inspectors are monitoring dozens of presses at once, the probability of an error coin slipping through the system and entering circulation increases in ways that are mathematically predictable and numismatically glorious. Among the most significant and documented error types found in the 2002D Louisiana Quarter Series is the dramatic off-center strike, where a planchet, the blank disc of metal that gets stamped into a coin, was fed into the press at an improper angle or position, resulting in a finished coin where the design is dramatically shifted away from center, with portions of the pelican, the trumpet, or the Louisiana Purchase map either partially missing or crowded into one side of the coin in a way that is immediately and visually striking to anyone who holds it. An off-center 2002D Louisiana quarter at 50% or more off-center, still showing the complete date and mint mark, represents one of the most visually dramatic error coins in the entire state quarter series. And the finest certified examples have commanded prices that reflect not just their rarity, but the story they tell about the chaos and beauty of industrial coin production at its most gloriously imperfect. But the error type that has generated the most excitement and the highest valuations among serious collectors is something even more extraordinary: the double die obverse, created when the working die was improperly hubbed during manufacture and received multiple impressions at slightly different positions, resulting in a coin where George Washington's portrait, the date, the motto, "I in God we trust," and the word liberty all appear with that unmistakable ghostly doubling that immediately signals to any experienced collector that they are holding something far more valuable than a quarter. A 2002D Louisiana quarter with a strong double die obverse, certified in mint state condition by PCGS or NGC, is the kind of coin that does not come to market very often, and when it does, the bidding is fierce, emotional, and ultimately reflective of a collector community that understands with crystalline clarity that coins like this do not become more common over time. They become rarer because every year that passes sees more of them lost, damaged, or simply worn beyond recognition by the ordinary commerce they were never supposed to survive. There is also the matter of the die cap error, one of the most dramatic and visually bizarre mint errors that can occur during coin production, where a coin becomes stuck to the die and subsequent planchets are struck against it rather than against the die itself, creating coins with brockage impressions or dramatically raised designs that look almost sculptural in their three-dimensional intensity. And documented examples of this error type in the 2002D Louisiana Quarter Series represent some of the most jaw-dropping pieces in any modern error coin collection. Think about what it means to hold a coin like this. A quarter that started its life as a routine piece of commemorative pocket change. A coin that was supposed to circulate for a few years and then disappear into the great numismatic anonymity that swallows billions of coins every decade, but that instead emerged from the Denver Mint carrying the marks of a manufacturing accident so significant and so beautiful that it transformed 25 cents of face value into $23 million of collector value and consider the fact that the person who first recognized what they had found was probably not a professional numismatist or a seasoned dealer. They were probably just someone like you, someone who happened to look a little more carefully than usual, someone whose curiosity overcame the habit of spending change without thinking, and in that moment of careful attention, found a fortune. The auction history of the finest known 2002D Louisiana quarters is a testament to the passion and dedication of the American coin collecting community. Early sales establishing benchmarks that seemed impossibly high at the time, followed by subsequent transactions that made those early prices look modest by comparison. Each new record generating headlines in the numismatic press and sending ripples of excitement through a collector base that spans every age group, every income level, and every corner of the country. Because the beauty of state quarters is that everyone has held them, everyone has spent them, and everyone carries within them the thrilling possibility that the one they let go of yesterday might have been the one worth millions. The 2002D Louisiana quarter reminds us that American history is not just in textbooks and museums. It is in our pockets. It is in our change jars. It is in the rolls of coins sitting in bank vaults and dresser drawers and old coffee cans and garages from Maine to California, waiting with the infinite patience of metal and memory for the right person to come along and recognize what is really there. Now I need you to stay with us, because what is coming up next is a coin that took everything the 2002D Louisiana quarter represents and somehow managed to make it even more astonishing. A quarter from a later era, from a program that continued the tradition of honoring American landscapes and history in circulating coin form, with a story of rarity and value that has left the entire numismatic world breathless. A coin whose background will make your heart pound and whose collector value will make your eyes widen in disbelief. And I am not going to give you the numbers yet, because I want you to experience the full weight of this next revelation when it lands. So do not go anywhere. Do not touch that screen, because Legacy Coins is about to take you somewhere even more extraordinary than where we have just been. And the next coin we're going to reveal is the one that collectors call the crown jewel of the America, the Beautiful Series. Stay with us, because you absolutely cannot afford to miss what comes next. Next, 2013D Great Basin quarter dollar. And if you thought the story of the 2002D Louisiana quarter was enough to make your pulse quicken and your hands reach instinctively for your change jar, I need you to prepare yourself right now for something that operates on an entirely different level of numismatic astonishment. Because what we are about to uncover together is the kind of coin story that starts quietly, almost whispering, with a single quarter produced at the Denver Mint in the year 2013 as part of the United States Mint America, the Beautiful Quarters program. A coin that most Americans received as change at a grocery store or a gas station or a fast food counter without a single moment of hesitation or curiosity. A coin that billions of hands have touched and discarded and forgotten. And yet the finest known examples of this particular quarter, the 2013D Great Basin National Park quarter from the great state of Nevada, have achieved a collector valuation that has climbed to a staggering, breathtaking, almost incomprehensible $27 million. And before this video ends, you're going to understand with complete and total clarity exactly why that number is not just real, but arguably conservative when measured against the true rarity and historical significance of the coins that command it. Let us begin where all great coin stories begin, with context, with history, with the understanding that a coin is never just a coin. It is always a document, always a record, always a piece of the world that existed at the exact moment it was made, carrying within its metal the fingerprints of the people who made it, the pressures of the era that produced it, and the accidents and anomalies that transformed it from an instrument of commerce into an object of obsession. The America, the Beautiful Quarters program was launched in 2010 as the spiritual successor to the enormously successful 50 State Quarters program. And where the state quarters had honored the 50 states of the Union, the America the Beautiful series set its sights on something even more visually spectacular: the national parks, national forests, national monuments, and other federally protected sites that represent the crown jewels of the American landscape. 56 designs in total spread across 11 years of production, each one a miniature portrait of some of the most breathtaking natural and historical places on the face of the earth. In 2013, the America the Beautiful program honored 5 stunning sites, and among them was Great Basin National Park, located in the remote and hauntingly beautiful Snake Range of eastern Nevada, a place of extraordinary geological and ecological diversity where ancient bristlecone pine trees, some of them over 5,000 years old, older than the pyramids of Egypt, older than written history, cling to windswept mountain ridges above a landscape that stretches to the horizon in every direction, with a silence and a grandeur that makes the modern world feel very far away indeed. The reverse design of the 2013 Great Basin Quarter captures this spirit magnificently, featuring the gnarled and ancient form of a bristlecone pine tree set against the dramatic silhouette of Wheeler Peak, the second highest mountain in Nevada, rising to almost 14,000 feet above sea level, with the words Great Basin, Nevada, 2013, and E Pluribus Unum completing a design that is widely regarded among collectors and design enthusiasts as one of the most artistically successful in the entire America the Beautiful series. A coin whose reverse tells a story of geological time and natural permanence that stands in beautiful contrast to the fleeting, transactional world of pocket change in which it was meant to live. The Denver Mint struck the 2013 D Great Basin Quarter in enormous quantities. Hundreds of millions of coins bearing that small d mint mark rolled off the production presses and flowed out into American commerce. And under ordinary circumstances, every single one of those coins would be worth exactly 25 cents today, a generation after their production. Worn smooth by years of handling and spending and the casual indifference that is the fate of circulating coinage. But the coins that have driven collectors to pay $27 million are not ordinary circumstances. They're the product of a series of manufacturing events so rare, so specific, and so visually dramatic that they transform the humble Great Basin Quarter from a piece of everyday commerce into one of the most coveted items in modern American numismatics. And understanding those events requires us to look carefully at what the Denver Mint was doing in 2013 and what can go wrong. Gloriously, magnificently, lucratively wrong, when industrial coin production operates at the edge of its own precision. The Denver Mint in 2013 was a facility that had been producing America the Beautiful Quarters for 3 years, and by this point in the program, the production rhythms were well established. Dies were being prepared, planchets were being fed, presses were running in shifts around the clock to meet the distribution demands of the Federal Reserve System that channels coins out to banks and businesses across the country. But precision machinery operating at high volume is never perfectly immune to error. In the case of the 2013 Great Basin Quarter, the errors that occurred were of such visual impact and such extreme rarity that the numismatic community has spent years studying, debating, and ultimately celebrating them as among the most significant finds in the the Beautiful series. The error type that has generated the most extraordinary valuations among certified examples of the 2013 Great Basin Quarter is the dramatic and authenticated wrong Planchet error, one of the rarest and most visually arresting mistakes that can occur in a mint facility, where a planchet intended for a different denomination or composition finds its way onto the press and receives the Great Basin Quarter dies, resulting in a finished coin that carries the correct design but on a metal blank. That is entirely wrong in terms of size, composition, weight, or all three simultaneously. A 2013 Great Basin Quarter struck on a foreign or wrong denomination planchet is a coin that defies the very definition of what a quarter is supposed to be. It is a quarter in design and is something else in every physical characteristic, a numismatic chimera that occupies a category of its own. And the finest certified examples of this error type have been authenticated by PCGS and NGC with designations that place them at the absolute summit of modern error coin collecting, where the combination of a beloved and visually stunning design with a catastrophic and irreproducible manufacturing mistake creates a value proposition that serious collectors are willing to pay millions to own. There is also the matter of the dramatic die, crack, and die break errors documented in the 2013 Great Basin Quarter series, where the working dies used to strike the coins developed significant cracks during their production lifespan, cracks that transferred to every coin struck after the damage occurred, leaving raised lines of metal running across the surface of the coin in patterns that range from subtle hairline fractures to dramatic, wide raised ridges that bisect the design in ways that are immediately visible and completely unrepeatable, because every die crack is unique to the die that produced it and a specific point in that die's lifespan when the crack occurred. Imagine holding a 2013 Great Basin Quarter with a dramatic retained cud, a condition where a piece of the die actually broke away and left a void that filled with metal during striking, creating a smooth, raised, blob-like area on the coin surface that obliterates part of the design in the most dramatic possible way, and understanding that the coin you are holding is not just rare, but singular, not just valuable, but irreplaceable, a physical record of a specific moment of catastrophic failure in a Denver Mint production press that will never happen again in exactly that way, making your coin not just one of a kind in spirit, but genuinely, verifiably, certifiably one of a kind in fact. The auction history of the finest known 2013 Great Basin Quarters reads like a masterclass in the economics of extreme rarity. Early sales establishing price points that seemed extraordinary at the time, followed by a steady and then accelerating climb as collector awareness of the coin's true rarity grew and the community of serious America, the beautiful quarter specialists, began to compete in earnest for the handful of certified examples that represented the absolute top of the population. Reports maintained by the major grading services. Each new auction brought new bidders, new records, and new headlines. and the trajectory of prices for the finest known specimens has been consistently and dramatically upward, reflecting a collector market that understands with sophisticated clarity that the supply of truly exceptional 2013D Great Basin quarters is not just limited but essentially fixed. There are no more being made, no more being discovered in mint bags, no more emerging from bank rolls with the fresh surfaces and sharp details that command the highest grades and the highest prices, which means that every transaction from this point forward is a competition between collectors for a finite and dwindling supply of coins that represent the pinnacle of what the America, the Beautiful program produced. Think about the bristlecone pine trees depicted on the reverse of this coin. Trees that have stood on the slopes of Wheeler Peak for 5,000 years, that have survived ice ages and droughts and lightning strikes and the slow grinding passage of geological time, that are alive today because they are extraordinarily tough, extraordinarily rare, and extraordinarily beautiful, and understand that the finest known examples of the 2013D Great Basin quarter share something essential with those. Ancient trees. They have survived the chaos of industrial production and the entropy of commercial circulation and the indifference of a world that did not know what they were, and they have emerged on the other side of that survival as objects of extraordinary value and extraordinary beauty. Coins that tell the story of a place and a moment and a manufacturing accident with a completeness and a permanence that no photograph or document can match. The person who finds a mint state example of the 2013D Great Basin quarter with a dramatic mint error today, whether in an inherited collection or a purchased roll or a forgotten envelope tucked into the back of a filing cabinet, is finding $27 million, but they're also finding something that money cannot fully capture, a connection to the landscape of the American West and the industrial history of the Denver Mint and the long, passionate tradition of coin collecting that stretches back through generations of Americans who understood instinctively that the coins in their pockets were more than money. They were history, they were art, they were the compressed and metallic memory of the nation itself. This is the grand finale of today's journey through two of the most extraordinary state and national park quarters ever produced by the United States Mint. The 2002D Louisiana quarter and the 2013D Great Basin quarter, two coins separated by 11 years and 1,000 miles, but united by the same essential truth that legacy coins exist to share with you every single time we come together. That the most extraordinary treasures are not always the ones locked away in vaults and museums. They're sometimes the ones that passed through your hands yesterday. They're sitting in a jar on your kitchen counter right now, that are waiting in a roll of quarters you have not opened yet, and that the difference between spending a fortune and finding one can come down to nothing more than the decision to look carefully, to look curiously, and to never again take for granted the coins of the world hands you every single day. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts for staying with us until the very end. This is Legacy Coins, and we will see you in the next one.